Hello and welcome to episode 174 of Level Up Your Career with APMG. Welcome to 60 minutes of live Q&A where your questions drive the show. My name is Stephan Brendel, and on behalf of APMG, I am your host today. My colleagues Adriana and Ella are present in the LinkedIn and YouTube chats, so please let us know your name and the city from where you are joining. They will post a link for you to vote up the questions that you would like to see being answered, and of course, for you to add your own questions. If your question is selected, your name will appear in the credits at the end of the show. So get yours in early and stay with us to see that happen. Today, we discuss the question, why is writing a better business case important? Well, better business cases help convince decision makers to support a particular initiative or project. And a well-written business case clearly outlines the benefits, costs, and risk of the proposed endeavor, making it easier for stakeholders to understand why the investment is worthwhile. But let's hear from our panel of experts who work across industries and time zones and who will provide practical examples, insights, and hints about this topic. Sounds interesting? Well, then let's get started and meet them. There is our panel. Hello, everyone. So let me start with Jackie Hewett. Jackie works with many corporate clients to design and deliver bespoke project and program solutions. For 15 years previously, Jackie trained thousands of individuals in the PPM space, covering program, project, and change management, agile methods, and business analysis. Her project experience has been primarily in the insurance and HR sectors within private, public sectors, and charities. She's a passionate advocate of practicing the best practices she consults on and teaches. Welcome to the panel, Jackie, and hello to Greater London.
Hi, Stephan. Thank you for that. It's great to be back here with APMG again on this super important topic.
Yeah, it is a super important topic. Next on our panel is Shola. Issac. He's the executive director at Training Creatively, where he delivers a wide range of project and program management training for clients across industries. He has extensive experience in delivering value to his clients and has facilitated training courses for over 5,700 delegates worldwide. Shola is joining us from Milton Keynes today. Welcome back, Shola.
Good morning, Stephan. It's going to be a great discussion and, of course, a great week.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Shola. New to the panel is Duane Passman, an astrophysicist by profession, has an extensive background in the NHS, where he has been involved in significant investment programs and projects for more than 35 years. Throughout his career, he has played a key role in overseeing well over $2 billion worth of investments in the national health system. Recently, he has founded his own company, specializing in offering advice, guidance, and support throughout the capital investment lifecycle. Duane is also recognized as an accredited business case practitioner. Welcome, Duane, also from Greater London.
Thank you very much, Stephan. And I'm also really looking forward to this, given that I'm a newbie on the block. So hopefully everyone will be gentle with me, but equally I'll be able to bring some experience to the discussion as well.
Yes, and it's important that we have all these different perspectives. Thanks, Duane. Completing our panel today is Mart, Rovers, the president of INTERPROM in the US and in Europe, where they strive to really listen to their clients and help them adopt leading practice across a range of disciplines. Mart has a passion for building communities, something he shares with many of our panel today, and has been the architect of successful communities in business relationship management, service management, and change. Welcome back, Mart, and hello to Phoenix.
Thank you, Stephan. Thank you, APMG, for having me, and welcome to our audience. As you may be accustomed to, I'd like to start with a quote to warm up everybody. It was a quote from Eben Pagan, and he said once, "You can't convince anyone of anything. You can only give them the right information so that they convince themselves."
Yeah, what a great quote. The same like with motivation. You can't motivate different people. You can only help them to motivate themselves, right? Thanks, Mart, for that quote. And I was expecting a quote from you anyway. Our question master today is my colleague Suchitra Jacob. She's joining us from the garden city of Bangalore in India. Welcome, Suchitra, and may we have a first question, please?
Hello, Stephan and the panelists and our viewers. Yes, of course, you may have the first question. Just waiting for it to appear. Yeah. The first question is from James. What are the key components that should be included in a business case to ensure its effectiveness?
So we have a hand raised from Jackie. So Jackie, why don't you kick us off on that question, and then followed by Shola.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Well, you introduced the importance of a business case at the beginning of the show and mentioned that, of course, we need to have our costs and benefits in there. It's a decision-making tool. That's the first thing to remember. Why do we do it? What's the importance? It's to help the right senior people make a decision on if this is the right investment. So you need all of the information in there to be able to make that decision. So all the costs, all the benefits, but I'm going to add a couple of things and leave some space for the others as well. Disbenefits. It's really important to understand what the potential, downside effect of the project is, so you can make a well-qualified decision. Everybody can get rose-tinted about a project, so have those disbenefits in there. And always, when we're thinking about the business case, we should be thinking about what's the risk as well. Is this project too risky? Is the risk profile okay? And there's much more besides, but I'll give some space for others to add their comments.
Thanks. Good advice here. Thanks, Jackie. And let's continue with Shola.
Thank you. Good question. A business case is effective if it achieves its purpose, isn't it? Which is to justify spending in a particular business initiative. And the key areas you need information on that the investors will consider will be the confirmation of the alignment of this investment to corporate strategy, the commercial information dealing with suppliers, the financial benefits, the economic benefits, as well as management information. These 5 areas are also provided in a particular course provided by APMG, which is the International Better Business Cases. This question was made for that course. It's a great question. Thanks, James.
All right. Thanks, Shola and James. I hope you got already some insight, but let's next hear from Duane.
Thanks very much, Stephan, and thank you for asking the question, James. Just really to support what's already being said, and particularly around assessment and realization of the benefits, because a key part over and above what we've already discussed in terms of the business case will be the management case. So how the project will be, or the initiative will be organized, how there will be governance and assurance around that, and what the metrics are, and what the process is for measuring the benefits when the project is in implementation and afterwards when it's being realized. In that way, we can see if what we set out originally in the business case is actually being delivered. So are we providing the requisite value for money and the requisite outcomes and outputs for what we said we would deliver in the first place? And that's particularly important for future organizational learning as more and more projects or programs are delivered by that particular organization. And James, I hope that helps you.
Yeah, I think so. But let's hear from Mart.
Just one more thing to add after all these fantastic answers so far. That is the fact that what I personally always like about a business case is when there is a few what if scenarios in there. Should not be as in, hey, I have the greatest solution ever, and there's no alternative. Give me a few alternatives, including as in, what if we don't do anything? But also make these what if scenarios a little bit more than just the financial or just this one particular benefit. The richer you put your arguments forward, the more convincing the case can be. As in, give me more information.
All right, thanks, Mart. Well, James, that's a wide range of answers you received. I would like to welcome our visitors, our live visitors. Akshaya from India. Hello, Akshaya. Great to have you here on the show. And there's Gwen Benson from Surrey. And I think Surrey is quite dominant today, also with our panelists. And there's Nompumelelo from Pretoria in South Africa. So it is a real global show. Thank you all for being here. And please don't forget to raise your live questions. They will come here on the show. They will get straight in. But as I wonder, Suchitra, if we have already a live question or if we want to continue with those who have been submitted before.
So we do have a question, but it's pre-submitted. It's from Sarah Hall. Who should be involved in creating and reviewing a business case?
Who should be involved in creating and reviewing a business case? Let's start with Jackie again and then followed by Duane.
Yeah, thank you. So the key sort of person who's said to own the business case, if you like, is you might know them as a sponsor, you might know them as the executive of the project. They're the person making the ultimate responsibility of whether or not, or the decision of whether or not to go ahead. Whilst they might be said to own the business case, they possibly or probably don't write it all themselves. They're likely to delegate. There are a number of different roles that can be involved in doing this. Often a project manager is involved in creating the content, maybe even business analyst. You're going to go to people like your users, the people who are ultimately going to use the outcomes of your project to get the benefits. They're involved in specifying what benefits they expect. So those are some of the sort of key contributors. There can be more, but they're the key people. And then reviewing it, obviously, ultimately, the sign-off person, so executive, sponsor, whatever you're calling them for their role, maybe even PMO. If you've got a PMO, they can kind of sense check your business case.
All right. Thanks, Jackie. I would like to add, maybe we should always have a focus on the stakeholders to get their buy-in on business cases. But let's hear from Duane.
Thank you, and thank you for the question, Sarah. Looking at the reviewing side, it will depend on who holds the purse strings. So it might be a business organization that's taking the business case, in which case it might be an investment committee or the corporate board. In different parts of the public sector, depending upon the size of the business case, it might mean that the approval is being undertaken by a body external to the sponsoring body. But the thing I would say is that all those involved in the creation and reviewing of a business case should have the appropriate training so that they know what they're looking at. One of the things that you do sometimes find, and it's something of a disadvantage, is that people who are creating or reviewing a business case are coming to it sometimes fresh and are just writing it straight from the book and don't have a real understanding underneath the skin of what a business case is for. It's seen as a means, as a very crude means to an end to get an approval, rather than as a living document which unfolds through the stages of planning and implementation and is your route map to achieving the benefits within the costs that you've set out, and a tool for managing the risks that go alongside those.
All right. Thanks, Duane. And Mart, what's your view?
To build on the previous two answers, I always like it when product owners and or service owners get involved in creating or reviewing business cases, as in showing, an advanced view of what their product or service should be for the future. But another angle of answering this question would be, I would always look for people with leadership's background, leadership skills. I would look for people at that level to look at it. We're talking here about a business case as in something that can advance the business. So do we have the people involved that know the organization, the company, but also know the market, know the industry, know competition, know what others are doing, or have a decent view, a perspective of what things will look like in 3 or 5 years from now. Those would be the right people to have involved in creating or reviewing a business case, in my opinion.
Okay, well, thanks. Sarah, hopefully that give you some insight. And Suchitra, can we just go straight to the next question, please?
Sure, we have a live question that's coming from Milvio. Why do organizations struggle to articulate the argument for change, despite emphasizing that preparing a business case should not be a writing exercise?
No, not be a writing exercise. So we give the panel a few seconds to think about how to reply. And I see that Jackie has her hand raised, followed by Duane. Please, Jackie, start us off here.
Yeah, there are a number of things you could say here, but the culture of the organization can have quite a big impact. People might just be encouraged to sort of go through the motions, but aren't really taking it terribly seriously. And another problem often can be there's this issue of pet projects. Sometimes someone senior has a pet project and they're determined to sort of get this thing through, and people in the organization may be aware of that, but don't want to vocalize or stand up against somebody senior, which is why it's really important to have standards for your business case, what's expected, and so you can look at one business case for one project against another. So that's just one of the reasons.
All right, thanks, Jackie. And let's hear from Duane then.
Thank you, and thank you for the question, Milvio. I think that the struggle to articulate the argument for change comes from being clear about what you're trying to do. And certainly the projects and programs that I've been involved in, we've taken quite a bit of time to understand where the proposed program or project might sit within the organizational strategy. That's the first thing. So being really, really clear about the organizational strategy that surrounds and forms the environment that's driving the program or project. But then within that, being really, really clear about what the benefits are of the proposed initiative, and being clear about how you can articulate them. If you're finding difficulty in articulating the argument, then you might need to review whether you're doing the right thing. Because if you can't tell a compelling story, and I think being able to tell a compelling story around a business case and a really compelling narrative is essential to being able to provide a business case at the end of the day that is successful. So it is that narrative, storytelling, and being clear about what you're doing.
All right, thanks. Yeah, and then under these circumstances, you can avoid a writing exercise, right, for the sake of writing a business case. Thanks, Duane. And Shola, may I have your view, please?
Yes, a starting point will be exactly what is the business problem? Have we articulated clearly and made our key stakeholders understand the business problems? And then based on that, have we clearly articulated the different options we can use in sorting out that business problem? And then come up with the recommended change. That articulation can be an issue with most organizations, which is why, as my panelists said earlier on, we need somebody who is really good at doing this, clarifying the problem, clarifying the options, and then coming up with the need for change. And you're looking at people like the business analysts or project managers, like Jackie said earlier on.
Okay. Thank you. And finally, let's hear from Mart about this question.
Just one more thing to add, that is the benefit aspect of what we need to address in the business case. I'd like to sometimes replace that with the value that comes from what you're trying to propose. What's the value that you're looking for? Which is it can be something else than just money. It can be intangible value, qualitative, quantitative, psychological value that comes from your business case. In other words, if we focus a little bit more on the value aspect, what we're trying to suggest in our business case, we may have a better opportunity here to articulate that argument for change, since that's the value, let's say, for the organization or for your customers or for your employees, for who knows. I think changing that narrative and focus a little bit more on value could help in this case.
Thanks, Mart. Thanks, panel and Milvio. Hopefully, this gives you some insight and some bandwidth for your questions. Suchitra, may we just jump to the next question, please?
Our next question is from Kendra in New Jersey. Why is it that business cases are hardly being looked at after the project is completed and the solution is live? And what can be done to change this?
All right. So the business case, once everybody's happy about the outcome of a project, and then nobody looks at the business case. Sorry, I missed who was first. I think I start with Duane, followed by Jackie, Shola, and Mart.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Kendra. This is a really common problem. It's not, you might find it particularly in your organization, but this is absolutely normal. That as soon as a project is completed, implemented, everyone says, okay, it's gone over to business as usual. Let's get on with the next thing. Now, my view of long-standing has always been that if you're going to learn and show the value that you've created from that implementation, then you've got to be able to demonstrate it. And having worked in the public sector here for a long time, most of the projects that I've worked on are funded by general taxation. They're funded by the taxpayer. They're funded by me, my family, my friends. And I think it's absolutely essential that you can demonstrate that if you've spent a large amount of money, that you're showing a social return on that investment and a net increase in value to the gaiety of the nation, if you like. So certainly in the public sector here, we've always seen that post-project evaluation, post-implementation review is mandatory, and it's always made mandatory. It's just never done. And I think we need to foster a greater culture of learning and improvement through that learning, so that it can be widely disseminated and different organizations can pick up on what's being done and understand where things have gone well and where they might have gone less well. So I think that's a really important question, and it's got to be a cultural thing. We've got to develop that culture.
All right. Interesting view here from you, Duane. Let's hear from Jackie.
Yeah, great comments there, Duane. I completely second what you've said. Often an organisation will be focused on delivery of the thing. We think of it as this is a project, and when the project is delivered, it's done. Yeah, if we're looking at our initiatives more as an investment, it helps you sort of to keep an eye more on the outcomes and the benefits and the longer term piece, rather than we've just got to deliver a thing. Once that's done and chucked over the fence to your users, where's the new shiny? Where's the new thing we're looking at? And one way to help keeping that on the agenda, as I say, make sure you're looking at it as an investment rather than just a project, and assign responsibility. Yeah, assign responsibility to different individuals to make sure that you do achieve those outcomes and the benefits. What gets measured gets done, doesn't it? So if you put it in somebody's KPIs, it's more likely to happen.
Oh, yeah. All right. Thanks, Jackie. And Shola, what's your perspective on this?
In addition to what Duane and Jackiet just said, after the solution from the project has been made live in the business areas, and we are now getting benefits, there's no focus usually on the business case that justified that investment in the change in the business areas. Because the PM, project manager, has delivered the solution, the outcomes have been realized by the program manager, or if the project is not part of a program, the outcomes are being realized by the business managers themselves. Now, what can be done to change this? Before the solution is made live, we should have our performance metrics when it comes to the benefits expected to be realized after the solution is made live. So we should have what we call our benefit baselines, isn't it? And then, because we've achieved the outcomes, new ways of working, we should now have the benefits described in the business case, measurable improvements being transferred to the line managers in their annual performance targets. So we call this booking the benefits that is expected from the new capabilities you've now given the line managers with this solution coming to life. That is what can be done to change this.
Okay, thanks. Good advice here, Shola. And let's hear from Mart.
To build on all these fantastic answers, I'd like to add the concept of a value plan that was introduced by the Business Relationship Management Institute. Value plan where you, in essence, just say, what is the value that comes from this business case or idea? Define the value, as in, is it tangible, intangible, qualitative, quantitative, psychological value? Define it first, and then make it measurable. How do I measure the value that comes from this idea or suggestion that we have, or from this investment that we're going to make? How are we going to measure that value? How long are we going to measure that value after go live? A year, 6 months, 2 years? Who knows? And who's going to look at these results from what the value is that was generated? And who makes the decision as in, hey, that wasn't quite what we planned for, or hey, we're doing great with our value, we're hitting the numbers. And in case we don't, are we going to invest in this solution to make it even better, or make sure that we meet these numbers? So the concept of a value plan was introduced by them, and then these value optimization reports to show how we're doing with value for an X amount of time is a concept, I think, that builds on all the answers given so far. It's something that I would like to highlight as a nice complement to the document that we call business case.
Yeah. Thanks, Mart. Thanks, panel. And Kendra, yeah, it looks like like there is something you can do about this, and in particular, make sure that the business case is not just written to get the project running, but also to evaluate, because I think that is behind your question. Suchitra, we probably have another question coming up, right?
Yes, of course. This is another live question from Anne Noel Lenoble, who asks, in the context of building a better business case, what are the effective methods to estimate costs and investments?
Yeah, now we go straight into the matter, estimate cost and investments. And it looks like our panelists are still thinking. Duane has a solution for you, Anna, and then followed by Jackie. So let's start with Duane.
Thank you very much, and thanks very much, Anne Noel. One of the most effective methods, in my experience, comes back to what I've just said. So looking at and evaluating the project in use, did you actually deliver what you were going to say? What have been the measurable, tangible benefits? And also what have been the non-quantifiable, unintended benefits? And what are the more ephemeral benefits, the ones that you can't actually take a scale rule and measure? So that's the first thing. If you've got into that culture of measuring what you've done, identifying whether it met the original objectives, and disseminating it widely, that gives you one part of a database that people can look at, as long as it's not commercially sensitive, of course, to base other business cases on. If you're looking at an investment, say, of capital to build a building, then you will have professional advisors who will be able to use their experience and expertise to advise you of what the likely costs are of developing a particular facility. You can also use benchmarking. That's another very, very powerful methodology for looking at the sort of investment that you're planning and what the likely costs of it might be. It's also worth saying within that those costs may have a range. So you'd always be looking at the optimism bias, not only of the cost, but of the time and the other attributes, the revenue costs of the building, of the investment that you're planning as well. At the moment, the business cases I see are focusing very much on the optimism bias for cost and less, and then point estimates around time and the cost of operating that facility. So I would say keep it a range, but use optimism bias as well. And there is an evidence base that is not too bad around optimism bias. So it's worth looking at that to build into all the costs, equally the benefits and the uncertainty around the benefits as well, and the risk and the uncertainty around risk too.
Thanks, Duane. Very clear advice here. Let's hear from Jackie then.
Great answer, Duane. You haven't left much space to add a lot. Stolen some of my thunder. But I would say, optimism bias is obviously a key problem. So Duane's given a lot of good advice there. But look, lessons learned as well. Look to the past. Look to your experience in writing business cases. Have you been over optimistic in the past? Have you got experience of doing a similar project before? Use that as potentially a benchmark. So that's another thing that you can do. And Duane has obviously mentioned this thing about, a business case. And when you're looking at your costs and benefits, we're future gazing. It's an estimate. And people should be aware that there's often this thing called an estimating funnel. And right at the beginning, maybe you give a range for your business case. And as you start to progress through the project, you can get a bit clearer on what the real costs and investment cases are. So you can kind of narrow in a bit better as you start to spin up the project.
All right. Thanks, Jackie. I would like to have a look at our live viewers. And we had Nompomolelelo from Pretoria before. Hello, I am Du from Surrey. Oh, another person from Surrey. Here in the UK, and Ola Tokunbu from London. So great you have you here. Charlotte Miller is watching us from Yorkshire. She's usually from Reading, I suppose, but she's in Yorkshire today. And she said so last Friday, right? And really great to have you here watching us, and we're expecting your live questions coming in. And therefore, my next question to Suchitra is, can we move on?
Sure, we can. And yes, we do have another live question from Akshaya Bhatia. What should be done when the presented business case fails to meet the client's aspirations and falls flat?
Well, that is not an unusual situation, I would suppose, for a business case. But Shola, let's know what your view is.
If the case does not meet the client's aspirations, it should be rejected, isn't it? Because there is no confirmation of the value add that the business case will be bringing to the client. But just like Stephan said, this is unusual. The client should have been involved in all the stages as you go through the preparation of the business case. And this goes back to what my other panelists were saying earlier on. You should have rigorous, effective stakeholder engagement, including engaging your clients, so they can help you confirm the problem, the options, the recommended solution. And then based on that now, you're now looking at the benefits of the use of that solution against its costs and risks. So by the time you present the business case, the clients should really be looking at possibly funding the costs and managing the risk involved in the business case.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Shola. Yeah, it's true. We had this fact about the stakeholders being involved. So if you come to a situation like that, it usually is a sign you haven't done that right. Correct? So, but let's hear from Jackie.
Yeah, of course. If a business case doesn't hold together or hold water, you probably don't want to do the project. But really, you've got to get underneath understanding why it fails to meet the expectations. Have you understood what the problem is? And then, is it something to do with the options analysis? In a business case, we look at, what are the different options we have to do this project. Your start point is do nothing usually, isn't it? If we don't do anything, what happens? Are we falling foul of some law or whatever it is? But then you have grades of things to do. You can do an all bells and whistles solution. Is it because our solution didn't go far enough? Is it that it wasn't exciting enough or didn't potentially deliver enough? So get back to your client or your customer and probe and understand why. Where have we failed to meet their expectations? And see if you can have another go, maybe, and come up with a better idea, better option.
Yeah. Thanks, Jackie, and great advice here. Duane, what's your view?
I think I would say if it doesn't meet the client's aspirations, then the client hasn't been managing the process appropriately, because they should be a full part of the development of the business case. And so when the final product is presented to them, they should feel ownership of that. So if it falls flat with them, they really, really haven't engaged sufficiently in the process.
Yeah, I can only agree to that. That is quite a symptom. The business case shouldn't be a surprise if things have done right. But I think there's Mart who wants to add something to that.
Just quickly, a quote from Ron Kaufman. One said, "Convince people and you win their minds. Inspire people and you win their hearts." Maybe that's the issue.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Mart, for another good quote. All right, Akshaya, I hope this was helpful for you. Suchitra, may we move on, please?
Sure. Another question from Milvio. What is the optimal document size for a business case? Often the number of pages is commensurate with the dollar value.
Okay, well, there's the optimal document size, which is what kind of template can I use kind of question, or shall I write it from scratch? Duane, why don't you start us off?
Sure. Thank you for this question, Milvio. I've got to say that did amuse me, given that the Treasury in this country usually like to measure the depth of a document to see if it matches the pound value. So very, very similar to what you've said. I don't think there is an optimal document size for a business case. I mean, obviously, it will be proportionate and commensurate with the value, but it should be the size that it is, that articulates the costs, risks, benefits, and options to deliver what you're trying to do. So I don't think there is a rule of thumb to say if it's that much, it's this big, because I think that's a very artificial way of looking at it. Because if we did get into that, some of the, if it was £1 billion investment and it's a billion pages, that's bonkers. And I think just to very quickly add to that, I'll do a quote now from Kurt Vonnegut. "We'll go down in history as the first society that wouldn't save itself because it wasn't cost effective. because if we were going to save ourselves from climate change, that would be a really, really long document. But I think it should be much, much shorter than that.
All right, yeah, thanks. And thanks for your quote, Duane. Quotes seem to become famous now. Let's hear next from Jackie, please.
Yeah, it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all situation. And of course, as it's been said, it needs to be commensurate with the importance, the value, the complexity of the project. But what I can say is there are a lot of templates out there, and you need to sort of make sure you've got the key topics covered. So long as you've covered the key aspects, you've got all your costs in there, your maintenance costs in there, if that's a factor, you've got all your benefits, disbenefits, options, all that good stuff. So bear in mind a checklist, make sure you've got the topics covered, go to enough detail or depth as you need to under the different headings within your business case. But you equally don't want to go to a place where you've got such an ordeal to write a huge business case if it's small spend and a small project and we just need to get something done. You don't want to put people off justifying a project or going for an investment because the business case is too big. So it's not a one size fits all, it's appropriate.
Yeah. Right, thanks, Jackie. And Mart.
Yeah, don't take my coming answer not too seriously, but if you don't like the size of the document, just change the font size. I mean, that'll do the job.
Well, I think there's, if you consider what all needs to be in there to effectively bring in a business case, then this is also, what I didn't hear was like resources that will be needed. If you all do that, it will have a certain size. But I think in the public sector, and this is not just in England, Duane, I can assure you that I can assure you, I've seen this in a lot of public sectors. The size of a document matters. Before, so they don't read it anyway, but it matters to give an indication if it's real or not, right? But anyway, we also have the templates for business cases. For example, in the praxisframework.org. There you find them free of charge. They are available to everyone. And I think we will have the link down there in a second or so. But now, Suchitra, please, let's move to the next question, please.
Sure. A question again from Kendra in New Jersey. How do I establish a culture in which writing a business case is just the right thing to do?
Oh, yeah, we had this before, slightly touched on with the culture that is needed. But I think, Jackie, you were first and then followed by Duane.
Make it easy for people to do it. Yeah, tell them what's expected of them. Yeah, have a process or a procedure so that people know what to do, when to do. Give them tools and templates and train them. We've got the sort of better business cases by APMG. Let people know, explain to them how it's done, provide them the right level of support. The person writing a business case may not be an accountant. You might need accountancy input. Make sure that that's available, that help to look at things like maybe your complicated return on investment, net present value, or some of these sort of different ways of looking at the benefits. So make it easy. Yeah, make it accessible and easy for people to do it.
Right, good advice here from Jackie to Kendra. And Duane, where have you view?
Thank you, and thanks for this, Kendra. This is a really, really fascinating question because, as Peter Drucker said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So you can strategize as much as you like, but unless you've got the right culture there, you won't be able to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And sometimes people will just go, oh, well, let's just get it done, without understanding what the scope is, what the boundaries are around a particular program or project, what you're actually trying to achieve, and what benefits you wish to get from it. So if you can identify to that organization the advantages of writing a business case that uses some of the tools and techniques we've spoken about, that it can optimize what they're going to get and improve the chances of a successful delivery where that might have been absent before. And that's the real benefit of a really well-structured, well-thought-through business case.
All right. Thanks, Duane. And Mart, I suppose you would like to add something.
Just quickly, indeed. I think it all starts with having a strategy first, and that should not be a PowerPoint with 5 bullets. It should be something a little bit more than that, as in documented strategy. Don't ask me the number of pages because you know my answer there. But in other words, it should be aligned with your strategy, and then the culture should be, as in, we're not a hobby club. We're talking about investments here. We're talking about something that is going to take time, resources, you name it, and that deserves the appropriate amount of attention and specificity when it's about how we're going to spend our money, because we can only spend it once, for all our resources. So let's spend it wisely. So the culture should be, as in, this is a professional organization. We're running a professional organization, and that comes with the appropriate behavior that includes, think before you do something, and that's what the business case is all about.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. And Shola, you would like to give it some final thoughts?
Just a little addition that we should also promote a failure of not writing effective business cases for our business changes. Mention was made earlier on of things like pet projects or programs, and we are all involved in all businesses in writing budgets one way or the other. Similar approach, the culture will change if more stakeholders are aware that if they are not involved in contributing to business cases, that might lead to more issues in the business.
Okay, thanks, panel. And Kendra, I think there was some good advice for you in that, all right? So let's then move. We still have time for one question, I think. Suchitra, let's go there.
Sure. We have a live question that's just come in from Dope Knight Ajufo. How do you ensure that the business case remains relevant and adaptable to changing circumstances over time?
Yeah, make it a lively business case. Great. So, panelists, who wants to start us off here? I think Jackie was first and then followed by Shola.
Yeah, some people seem to think that a business case is something you just do at the start of the project to justify the kickoff, but it shouldn't be a dusty document thereafter that just sits on a shelf. Yeah, circumstances change. Look at COVID. Look at things like that hit us. We need to keep coming back to the business case. So if there is a significant world event or something that impacts us from the outside, we should be looking at the business case. But that's not a given that that's going to happen. So there are other circumstances in which you would draw back to your business case and reconsider it. If there's a significant change to your scope or a new idea comes up, it should always be back to your business case. Your business case drives your decision making on a project, but you can't just sort of sit and assume that that's going to happen. So really what you should do, and most people will know this as gate reviews, you build in phases or stages in your project. And at those particular points in time, and I can't tell you exactly how long that will be. For some projects, it might be 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, it depends. But build in appropriately timed gate reviews when you come back to the business case. It's not I've started, so I'll finish. Yeah, you need to keep coming back. Does it still make sense to keep throwing money at this particular investment? Or is there something better we can do with that money, even though we might have started?
Yeah, agree. Also because the risks might change all the time, as you correctly pointed out. Okay, let's hear from Shola then.
Yes, the business case justifies the initial investment and also the continued investment in this business change, isn't it? And like Jackie just said, we should have specific periods when we should be reviewing a business case. We know that the business case is updated with current plans, which themselves are influenced by changing cost estimates and all kinds of circumstances. We should also be updating the business case if there's a major issue, such as a pandemic, just like Jackie said, and also maybe there's a war somewhere or there's a cost of living crisis. Now, one key thing we can do to ensure that the business case remains relevant is updating your key stakeholders at the very beginning of the business change. That we are not going to be just approving the business case now and leaving it in the cabinet, but we will always be coming back to it to confirm that it is indeed worthwhile to continue investing in this business change.
All right. Many thanks, Shola. And I think as time is actually running out for us for this show, and I'm a bit unhappy about the fact that we have still so many questions to answer, but the promise is we will have another show with the same title. But before we really end, I would like to hear some closing remarks from all of our panelists, and I would like to start with Mart Rovers.
Thank you, Stephan. Thank you, APMG, and our audience for attending this one. I thought it was enormously rich in information, so I'm sure there was at least something for everybody. Short one, quote from Mark Cuban, who once said, "Selling is never about convincing, it's always about helping." And that's where business cases come in. They try to help.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Mart. For that makes 3 quotes today. Great. 3 or 4. Really great. Thank you. And next for closing remarks, please, is Duane.
Thank you very much, Stephan. And thank you to APMG for inviting me. And thank you to the audience for listening to my random pronouncements. I think there's just 3 things I'd try and leave with everyone in the audience. The first is looking at programs and projects. It's the clarity around them and the narrative. The second is do learn from elsewhere. You know, it's not, you might feel it's just you, but there will be others who may have done it who you can learn from as well. And finally, training. Jackie's already mentioned that APMG have recommended trainers and providers for that training around the world. Do use it.
All right. Thanks for mentioning this, Duane, and thanks for your contributions today. Shola, can I have your closing remarks, please?
Thank you, Stephan. Quality decision-making that impacts lives, not only businesses, depends on the quality of knowledge that we have. For you attending this session today, you're adding a bit more knowledge to what you know already about business cases. Let us all, everywhere, keep on doing this so we can all be making better decisions.
All right. Thanks, Shola. And Jackie, your closing remarks, please.
Yeah, great show, great topic. Duane, what a debut. What a great panelist you've been today. I'm going to give a quote. It's not one of Mart's sort of, fancy people that you will recognize, but hopefully this is a great little soundbite that my boss uses. Keep your eye on the why.
Keep your eye on the why, yeah. That's a short one. Good to remember. Well, many thanks. And also thanks not just to our panel, but to all of our producers. So you out there, you are the producers because you're providing all these excellent questions. You've done a great job. And if your question made it to the show, watch out for your name in the credits. And by the way, over on our website, on APMG International, you can search for answers to almost or even more than 2,000 questions in the meantime. It's a comprehensive free resource connecting you with more than 200 experts from around the world. If video isn't your first choice, you can also listen to the audio version of the shows on your preferred podcast platform. Please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps new folks to discover our content. What's coming up on Friday, 4th of August? We want to shed some light on what it takes to become a change manager. On Monday, the 7th of August, we will dive a bit deeper into how to become a digital leader. And on Friday, the 11th of August, our Level Up episode is dedicated to how to become a chartered project manager. Shows on Fridays start at 1400 and shows on Mondays start at 8 o'clock. All times are British summertime. Please subscribe to Level Up, and we will send you a personal summary of what's coming up and how you can join us here on the panel and level up your career with APMG. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day and see you on Friday.